Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the video. And this is a little bit different because what we've done is I'm just making this video as a header, if you like, to a video I made a couple of days ago on the 1st of April. We had a Wealth Warriors presentation. It was going to be a presentation. It turned into be a sort of an informal chat. We do that once in a while. We don't normally record the informal chats. It's a way of an opportunity for us to all bring different ideas to the table, discuss and agree things, get feedback on different things, and so on. So I didn't really expect it to turn into anything worth recording, but I did record it anyway. And as it turns out, it became a brilliant video about the basics of Wealth Warriors and inviting new people to look at Wealth Warriors. So whether somebody's gotten involved with you in a Wealth Warriors platform or not, whether they're involved with you in another platform or not, or whether it's somebody you just want to talk to about Wealth Warriors right off the bat, so they're not on any platforms with you, this will be suitable for you to, one, to learn how to do it yourself, and two, teach them. You'll understand when you get into the video that it's important not only to do it yourself, but to teach other people how to do it, because your success will be based on your duplicability, how easily you can duplicate what you do. Your efforts alone won't cut the mustard, or if they do, it'll take a long time. But if you can duplicate your efforts, then you can build an empire. So this video that I'm making right now is just an introduction to the next part of the video that was done at another Zoom call. So you'll see the change of scene in a few seconds, and it's about the basics of Wealth Warriors and inviting. So I hope you enjoy that. So I'm not going to treat this as a full recording. Like I said, I'm just going to come back and maybe nick a few bits out. If I say anything clever or interesting, then I can come back and use the video. So something occurred to me when I was reviewing my video from last Sunday is that I don't spend any time teaching and training people about how to build Wealth Warriors. And I don't know why I don't do that, because every other time I've been in a position like this, I've had a training system in place. And I know what the training system is. It's just that we haven't formalized it. And the way that this should work is that we introduce somebody to a platform, and it doesn't even have to be a Wealth Warriors platform. If you're excited about something else, like I know some of you are involved in Aurum, and some of you are involved in BGWS and all these other things, but you get somebody involved in a platform, and then what you want them to do, and it makes sense, it should make sense to you why you want to do this. You then want them to get involved in all the Wealth Warriors platforms. And so what we would do is say to that person, okay, look, you're in this platform with me, you're enjoying it, we're getting on well, I'm looking after you, I'm the best leader you've ever had. You can admit that or not, but I know what you mean. And listen, I'm actually part of something where we work all together on a number of platforms. It's called Wealth Warriors. And what it actually is a system where you can not just get stuck into one of these platforms at a time and put all your effort into it, and then maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't, but even so, you're totally dependent on the one platform. What we do is we build 4 or 5 platforms all at the same time. So the effort it takes us to build one platform, we can build a number of platforms, and our plan is to keep adding more and more platforms to that same system. So I'd like to share that with you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you a video about how it all works, and then we'll get together. I'll phone you tomorrow and we'll talk through what you like, what you don't like, any questions, that sort of thing. So then you send them the video that I made last Sunday, and that explains in perfect clarity. Everybody can understand exactly what's going on. Then when you get with them tomorrow, you say, did you have a chance to watch the video? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Okay, so if I leave it with you today, can you watch it today? This is important. I don't want to waste your time, but we want to get things moving. Okay, so they watch the video. So you understand what we're trying to do, build a number of platforms, use the same energy to build 4 or 5 platforms that we would normally use just to build one. you can see why that makes sense. And so what you want to do now is ask them 3 questions where they say yes. Okay. So the first question might be, can you see why that makes sense to put your effort into something where you're going to be returned, get 5 platforms built rather than just one? That makes sense, doesn't it? And they'll say yes. Okay, so if we do that, can you see how it's going to be much, much easier for you to make a lot more money, maybe get closer to that financial freedom or ongoing, lifetime income, generational wealth, whatever it is they've already said they want. You can see how building 5 platforms is going to get you much closer than just building 1 platform. And they'll say yes. And then you say, and can you see how by building 4 or 5 platforms with the same effort is actually going to be much more secure than just building 1? Because we try to spot scams and stay away from them, but sometimes we get fooled. No, let's be honest, sometimes we get fooled. If you're only in that 1 platform where you get fooled, then you lose everything again. You get all the way back. You play Chutes and Ladders. We call it Snakes and Ladders in the UK. And so, you make that mistake and you're back on square one, literally got to start all over again. Whereas if we build a lot of platforms, you don't go back to square one. You take a little step backwards, but then pretty soon you're moving forwards again. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And they'll say yes. So now you've got three yeses. If you can get somebody to agree with you 3 times, to say yes to you 3 times, they will continue to say yes. As long as the things you say are sensible, you're not going to do anything silly. Okay, so we have this system. You need to get involved in all these platforms. Which of those platforms that you heard about on the video, which of those interests you the most for us to get into next? We're going to get you into all of them eventually. Which one do you think we should do next? That one. Okay, brilliant. So let's talk about that one. And then you tell them everything you know about whichever their platform they've selected. What that means is once they're involved in that platform now, you can say in a week's time, you can say, okay, so we've done 2 platforms now. We've got 2 more to go. Let's get you involved in this one. And then the following week, now let's get you involved in that one. So it's that initial conversation where you're getting them away from this mindset, and you've used the video to do that, get them away from this mindset of putting everything into 1 platform, into all the benefits of building a system like Wealth Warriors. And then you can introduce one after the other. And then when there's a new platform, of course, you show them how to get involved in that, and how to get people involved in the platforms themselves. So that's the first thing, what you do with somebody you've introduced. The very next thing we want to do is to find out, hopefully we find out before now what their goals are, what their aims and ambitions are, and then we explain to them how Wealth Warriors can help them achieve that much easier than just keep doing their own thing or keep getting back to square one every few months. Okay, so hopefully they understand that. So the next thing we want to do is encourage them to bring new people in. Now, I was always very reluctant to do this. I would say to myself, well, if people don't want to do that, just leave them be. It's everyone's personal preference. But what I've realized very, very recently is that there's a reason why people don't want to bring new people into a platform. And you know yourselves what it is. It's based on learned experience. It's based on what happened to them last time when they introduced people. The thing went bust. They lost money. Their friends lost money. They lost their friends. Okay. Nobody enjoys that experience. It's happened to me. It's happened to all of us. Nobody enjoys that experience. So we need to get them thinking about how the system we've got in Wealth Warriors is set up to maybe not prevent that from happening, but at least to mitigate it. So, and what I would say to somebody is, okay, listen, when you got involved in a platform with me, my job was to make sure that you had a good experience. Okay, whether it was a Wealth Warriors platform or not, doesn't matter. You joined with me, you trusted me, and I wanted to give you a good experience. And to me, a good experience is you make some money and you're not going to lose all your money to a scam. That's why then I introduced you to Wealth Warriors, and now we've got you into all 4 of these platforms. There's going to be some other platforms in the near future, but right now, that's where we are. And you can see how there's a safety net there. What I'd like you to do is to open your mind to the possibility that now is the time for you to bring a new person into one of the platforms. So if we were just going to forget who it is, don't worry about who you're going to talk to, anything like that. If we were going to bring somebody into one of these platforms, which one would you be able to talk to people about the most comfortably? Because once they're in one platform, we're going to talk to them about Wealth Warriors and about all the other platforms. But right now, just to introduce somebody into one of these platforms, which one interests you the most? And it might be that you want to talk to your brother-in-law about BitNext, but you want to talk to your best friend about Republic of Old Souls. So don't limit it, but which one would you like to introduce and who do you think that will be? Okay, that person. Okay, now what are you going to say to them? How are you going to talk to them? Okay. If you say that, what will they think? Yeah, they'll think you're trying to rope them into something. So I wouldn't say it that way. I would say it this way. And I coach people, I start coaching people what to say. How do you know this guy? Well, he's my brother-in-law. Okay. So do you get on well with him? What is he like? What job does he do? What are his dreams, his goals, ambitions that you don't know? Okay, so that's the first step, is just to talk to him and say, hey Dave, listen, I know what you do for a living, but we've never had a conversation. What's your end goal? Where do you see yourself being in maybe in 10 years' time? There's a reason why I'm asking, but just for right now, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Oh, this, that, the next thing. Okay, brilliant. And are you on track for that? Is there anything could go wrong? Well, yeah, I could get ill. Yeah, there is that. That industry I'm involved in could go bust. Oh, yeah, lots of industries are changing, aren't they? The company I work for could go bust. Yeah, you're right. Companies go bust all the time, don't they? Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is I might have a plan B. Do you have a plan B? I might have a plan B that you could use. And what I'd like to do is I'm excited about this platform, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm excited about that. I'm doing some other stuff as well. Just plant the seed early. I'm doing some other stuff as well, but I'm excited about this. And I think that the reason I'm doing it is basically to secure my financial future. And I think that you should have a look at it for exactly the same reason. Now, that's what I would say. He might say something completely different. If I was coaching him, I would probably get him to say that. And then when I get him to repeat it back to me, of course, he's changed it to suit himself and his friends and so on. But then I say, if he says something that isn't quite right, you've got to look out for conditional tense. You've got to look out for negative language and try and correct that, because negative language comes across in a very poor light when you're trying to interest somebody in looking at something, because there's so many things out there that um, people have heard all sorts of stories, and so you avoid all sorts of negative words, negative language, negative connotations. Keep everything positive and light. Avoid conditional tense, because conditional tense, like if and possibly and maybe this, okay, you can use it if you know what you're doing, but generally conditional tense means you're not sure, and then why would people trust you and follow you if you're not sure? So I coach people like that backwards and forwards, and I say, okay, I think if you were to say that to Dave, I think he'd be interested in having a look. And if all else fails, just say to him, look, Dave, I wouldn't waste your time. I wouldn't waste my time, and I'm not going to waste your time. Have a look at the video or have a look at this platform, come on the Zoom call, whatever it is you've decided to do, and it'll be worth your time. And if not, I'll buy you a beer. Okay, so you win either way. So that I would coach people so that they're comfortable with now they're going to go and talk to Dave. Okay, and I let them go and talk to Dave. I take him on the Zoom meeting or send him the information or whatever it is. Then I get with them and I coach them what to say to Dave now that he's seen the video, now that he's seen the presentation, now that he's registered. Okay. And we want to get to the point where he's comfortable with that platform. And then we start talking about Wealth Warriors. Okay, look, we're involved in this together. It's my intention that you will have a good experience. You trust me, you get involved in this. You can see how we're going to make some money at that going forward. But there's never any guarantees. And something could happen to that platform, the person running it. Anything could happen. They might change regulations. Who knows what's going to happen? So I want to introduce you to something I've seen recently called Wealth Warriors, which is where we have not just one platform on the go, we have a balanced portfolio across a number of different platforms, blah, blah, blah. And now we're back to where I was when I started talking to him in the first place, he's now saying that to his brother-in-law, his best friend, his colleague at work, whatever it is. Okay, so that's two different steps. I've taught Dave how to do that himself. So I've done that with Dave, so he's on board now with Wealth Warriors. Now I've taught him how to bring somebody else into Wealth Warriors and all the benefits that that entails. Okay, now people tend to be lazy about learning this stuff. Sometimes they are not coached properly about how to do it. I think it's not very common really. It's just a case of watch the video, go and have a look. If you like it, sign up. But we're not trying to just get people to sign up in a platform. We're trying to get people to get on board with a system. And a system does need us to spend some time teaching people how to do it. So that's partly why I'm making this video, because I'm going to cut it down to the snippets, and we might be able to put it out as short educational bites. The other thing I've been toying with is having a workshop where we can get together. Everybody brings their challenges. I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he does this and he does that, and I said this and he said that, and we ended up in a fist fight, you know. And so we can sort of pick that apart and see what went wrong and what we can do better, what we can do better next time. So we might do that as a workshop. I'd need some people to show some interest in doing that. Before we can get to there, we need some people out there introducing people to Wealth Warriors. And the challenge is for you guys, you're the first ones to hear what I'm saying tonight. So you're the generals, I guess. You're the ones, if who is it says your mission, yeah, there's Mission Impossible. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to make the first tentative moves, if you like, to start teaching and training people about how to introduce people to Wealth Warriors. Now, it's good for most of you because most of you on the call here already have a number of people that are with you in platforms anyway, and so it's not a cold sell. It's I don't know if it's a warm sell, but it's people that are involved in a platform with you anyway, and so we're just adding to that. We're not trying to go and recruit a brand new person to take them through from start to finish. The reason I think it's good to start with people that are already on board with you in at least one other platform is because this is something you haven't done before. I've done something similar in a number of different situations, but never for Wealth Warriors. So we may need to sort of refine the system. I'm sure we will refine the system as it goes on. When we are sure that what we're doing is the best way of doing it, then we can produce little ebooks for people. We can produce some training videos for people and do these workshops together. But before then, we've actually got to get to the point where we are all singing off the same song sheet and we have a system that we're comfortable with that has a high degree of or high probability of succeeding with a high proportion of people that we run it by. Nobody's ever going to have anything, one thing for anybody. And so I think we need to make that like the cornerstone of our training system. And the cornerstone of the training system really is it's a numbers game. And that's as well why it's good for you to start with somebody who's already in a platform with you, because they're much more likely to be receptive to spreading the costs, spreading the risk across a number of platforms. When we start introducing brand new people who are not in any of our platforms at the moment and they've never heard of Wealth Warriors, then we're looking at a numbers game. And we used to have in several businesses I've been involved with before, it's a numbers game where if you want to introduce 10 people, you have to show 20 people your presentation. To get 20 people in the presentation, you need to you need to talk to 40 people. So it's a simple halving process. And where that comes into its own effect, or its own, it comes into its own, is the fact that it takes all the pressure off of people. And I've actually coached people who literally couldn't talk to people. And the way I was able to do that is because up until the age of 28, I couldn't talk to people. I literally couldn't join in a conversation with a group of guys sat around having a beer. I walk into a room where my wife was sat with some of her friends. I come in from work and she sat there having a cup of coffee with 3 or 4 friends. and I walk in, say hello to my wife, and walk out again. And they all started to wonder, why doesn't he stop and say hi to us and have a conversation? And the answer is, I didn't know how to. Simple as that. I was, because of well, my background, my growing up and everything else, I literally didn't know, I didn't have the social skills to be able to hold a conversation with people. It was all facts and figures. Somebody talks to me and I give them facts and figures, and that's it. No social interaction, if you like. And I read some books and I went to some seminars about how to communicate with people. I met a good friend of mine called Alan Pease, who wrote a book on body language. He also wrote a book later called Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps. And I read Dr. Susan Jeffers, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. And I read Napoleon Hill and so many great authors. Zig Ziglar, for example, Charlie Tremendous Jones. I don't know if these names mean anything to you, but these were my mentors. And some of the things they taught me were how to communicate with people. The most effective tool they ever taught me was, if it's a numbers game, don't worry about the outcome. Because your goal isn't to get 10 people in. Your goal isn't even to show 20 people the presentation. Your goal is to talk to 40 people. So you can talk to 40 people. And I go up to people and say, hi, how are you doing? And they say, good, yeah, how are you? I said, brilliant. And that's it. Tick one, done that. Hi, I think you've missed your bus. Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? That's it. Tick off another one. Okay. And over time, that's the sort of thing I was doing. Literally, I was doing that. I go into a shop and I buy something and have a little conversation with the cashier. That's it. Tick another one off. Okay. Only 37 more to go. And I remember going to bed one night. I was just about to go to bed, and I had a look at I used to carry a little bit of card, and I chalk, like gate posts. Well, gate posts, the 5-bar gates. And I looked at, no, I still got one to go. So I put my clothes back on, got in the car, when I filled up with petrol, had a conversation with the guy and in fact later he actually got involved in a business with me, many years later. And but that's it. I had 40 to do that day. I only did 39. Get in the car and go and talk to one more. Now, you won't find many people that are that committed. They'll say, well, 39 is good enough. It's I'll do 40 tomorrow. Okay. Or I didn't do 40 this week, I'll do 40 next week, whatever it is, okay. Whatever the limitation or the limit is. But even so, even if you know people aren't going to do that, it doesn't mean the teaching is wrong. We need to teach them that's the thing to do. Put them under a little bit of pressure, let them put themselves under a little bit of pressure. Because if they do nothing, if they don't talk to anyone, they'll never build any business. The ones we were involved with, or any other business. And so we need to put people under a little bit of pressure. But the first thing we've got to do is free them from this fear of why they're doing it. They're doing it so that they can introduce people to something that's going to be good for them. So that's kind of where we are, I think, on talking to people. I watched a video the other day where somebody was saying all the stuff I've just told you, that's all old hat now. Nobody needs to bother with that. What they do, they sign up for this new AI lead generating service, and you get 10 people a week in your business, and ain't it great? How is that good? What's going to happen with those 10 people when that business fails? How are you going to get hold of those 10 people you don't even know who they are? How are you going to get them into the other wealth warriors? How are you going to get them into the way of thinking, the mindset of a wealth warrior, if all they've done is clicked on a link, gone and signed up? Yeah, you don't know them. All you've got is an email address, or even worse than that, a wallet address. Okay, so in some senses, I suppose, if all you want is people to sign up and spend their money, and you make some money, and that's all you're after, that's great. But that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to build something that's going to be meaningful for you and for them, and really literally last their lifetime. Because make no bones about it, none of the platforms we're involved with, none of the platforms that are available to us right now are going to survive the test of time. They're all going to go at some point. Okay, some of them will bow out quietly. Some of them will make sure that we will get a restitution before they pull the plug. Some will just pull the plug and walk away. But they're all going to go because there are always new businesses coming up. There are always new industries. There's always, I mean, when I first got involved in arbitrage, about 10, 11, 12 years ago, I was the only person I knew who knew what arbitrage was. And the guy who trained me. So we were the only two people. And now everybody knows about, well, not everybody, I'm sure, but a lot of people know about arbitrage. So arbitrage wasn't there, now it is. Who knows what's going to be there in the future that we don't know anything about right now. A while ago, nobody knew what DeFi staking was, and now a lot of people are doing it. So we don't know what's coming down the road, but all of the stuff we're doing now will be old hat. So the platforms really don't matter. It's the systems that we need to put in place that we can pass on. We can make sure people get trained properly. Not everybody you introduce is going to be interested in being trained. Not everybody's going to be interested in being a wealth warrior. That's great. Have them in that platform with you. Brilliant. But at least you know you've offered them the chance. And of course, you can always keep just talking about it. I've been talking about it to people I know probably for about a year or so. And now I've got people coming back to me saying, so what is this wealth warriors thing then? I've had somebody just today say, so what platforms are you involved with? And I said, well, do you remember I told you last year about Wealth Warriors? I said, we've actually got 4 good platforms on the go. They said, can you send me the details? So that's a year. They got involved in something with me 2 years ago that, I don't know when it was, probably 2 years, who knows. But that thing failed. And we just sort of send messages, every few months. So you don't know, people will grow and change. They might not be ready now, but they're ready at some point in the future. But those that are ready now, we need to make sure and bring them on board, make sure they are fully trained wealth warriors. They know what they're doing. They know how to build their financial future, how to build their personal and generational wealth. Because if you don't show them, if you don't teach them, they won't know. Nobody's going to know if you don't tell them. I don't know the people you know. They're never going to hear from me. They're never going to watch any of my videos. So all the people you know are your responsibility. It's your job, not mine. And if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it, or your friends are going to stay broke. They're all going to keep putting their money into crap businesses that keep going bust on them. And reset back to zero. And when that happens enough times, people go, I can't be doing this. I haven't got much money, but I'd rather keep it, and I know how long it's going to take me to starve working my job, rather than try and get my hopes up, get my expectations up, try and take a chance, do something, get convinced that this thing is is genuine, is legitimate. Look at all these people; they can't all be wrong, and they're withdrawing. And some people are making $1,000 a day, $10,000 a day, whatever. None of those are good indicators the platform's going to survive, but people think it does. And so they do that, and then if it fails, they lose money yet again. They lose, but worse than that, they lose their dreams, they lose hope, they begin to lose faith. And they lose hope in the idea that they can have a better future. What's going to happen in about 20, 30 years' time? Their kids are going to say to them, or the grandchildren are going to say to them, well, you were around at the start of the computer revolution in the 90s or the late 80s. What did you do with that? And I go, well, nothing really. I bought a computer, but I didn't really do it. It's okay. So you were around in the late 90s when the internet started up. A lot of people made a lot of money on the internet. What did you do? And they go, I ordered a few things from Amazon, but I had a website up to advertise my plumbing business. But apart from that, I didn't do anything with the internet. Okay, well, you were around when the crypto revolution really took off in the late teens and the early 20s. What did you do with that? And they're going to go, well, I bought some Bitcoin, but I put it into something and I lost it, And then they'll say, well, you were around when all of this AI-driven stuff was happening. What happened with that? Did you make a fortune with that? And they're like, what are they going to say? Well, that's up to you. That's up to you. Most people that don't have a plan, don't have a system, will do exactly the same with the next 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years of their lives they did with the last 20, 30, 40 years of their lives. Because they don't know what they don't know. Where are they going to get help and advice and guidance if not from you? They're not. There isn't a queue of people beating their door down saying, come and join my team, come and join my community. I promise I will look after you. I mean it. They're not there. You're it. You're the cavalry. And if you don't do it, it isn't going to get done. Your friends will stay broke for the next 40 years, and you'll look at them and go, well, I 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, 10 years ago, I started doing this. And it's brilliant. It's worked out well. I've had lots of success. I've had, all this security, living an abundant life, all this money. I've had a wonderful life. And I go, well, when did you start that? And you go, well, 25, 26. I go, well, thanks a bunch. Well, since then, I've gone through, 2 bankruptcies and 3 divorces. And you go, yeah, sorry, I didn't think you'd be interested. So it's up to you. And people watching this by video as well. It's your people. Nobody's going to talk to them if you don't. It's a big responsibility. I know you didn't ask for the responsibility, but you've got it anyway. And I don't mind. Do it or don't do it. It's entirely up to you. I'm hoping some people will see the sense of what I'm saying. They'll feel the pressure of what I'm saying, the weight of responsibility of what I'm saying. And some people will do something. And if that turns out to be the case, then I'm happy. I know that most people won't do anything. Even with all the pressure in the world, they just won't do anything because it means they go out of their comfort zone. Nobody wants to do that. That's why it's called a comfort zone. We like it there. We don't want to talk to anybody else. We want to just sign up for this thing and get 10 people join our platform a week and make a lot of money, where we don't have to talk to people or train them or keep them involved or get involved in their lives. We don't want to do that. We want to do the other thing. So I understand most of you won't want to do that. That's fine. But I want you to know that I believe it's your responsibility to do that. Because without it, all the people you've ever known in your life, all the people you went to school with, all of your family, your friends, everybody you've ever worked with, and all the people you're going to meet tomorrow and the next day and next week and next year, all of those people could have a much, much, much better life if you just put your hand out and said, hi, how you doing? Okay. Or you just say, I've got something I think you should look at. Or where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? That's interesting. What's your plan? Okay. And even if they have a plan, you say, well, I like that. My plan is this. And let them ask you. So that's it, really. I think that's all I wanted to talk about is the thing ourselves get involved in Wealth Warriors, get involved in all the platforms. Make sure we know how they all hang together, in the sense of we make money over here, we put some money over here, try and keep things balanced, because if we've got 80% of our money in one platform because that's the one we like, but that's the one that goes bust, we've shot ourselves in the foot. But if we transferred the money across different platforms, then we're much safer. So that's the first thing. The second thing is how to train people in such a way that they can do the job themselves. And then the third thing is just to be aware of the responsibility. I suppose the responsibility of history, being right here, right now, on this call, watching this video right now. There's a potential for you to make history for you and your family and future generations and some other people that you know, to put them in a position where they can feel the weight of their on their shoulders. All they've got to do is do something rather than nothing. If they do, they've got to go to their full potential in straight away. It might take them a year to build up to what they believe is possible, and even then, in 2 years' time, they'll believe far more than that, because when you do things, you can see a bit further ahead. You go up a hill, you think that hill's the highest thing you've ever seen, but you get to the top of that hill and you can see this is actually just one of the foothills. Look at all these other hills that are much bigger. So then you get to the top of the next one, you go, wow, there's another one there that's even bigger. You can see who is it? Zig Ziglar, I think, calls it peak to peak. So you get to the top of one peak, and then you build to the top of the next peak and build to the top of the next peak. But you can also peak. Once you get to the top of that peak, you can peak, a different spelling, of course, at the next peak. And it's about a lot of different things: self-development, growth, awareness, belief, attitude, all those things. We want to do more, so we want to be more, so we have to do more. And it's not really about what we get; it's about what we become. If we getting things is a great motivator, a great moving force to help us become better. If very few of us would actually just become better people. The way we become better is to set goals, work a plan, work out a plan, work the plan, overcome obstacles. That's where the growth is, the overcoming the obstacles. And sometimes the obstacles are just in our head. So it's about being more, not about having more. And you can help some other people do that as well. So with that, that's kind of my soliloquy done. I didn't plan for any of that. So possibly somebody watching this by video or one of you guys on the call needed to hear some of that. I don't know. Maybe I was just talking through the top of my head because I like the sound of my own voice. But I think that's kind of the message I wanted to get across. The message I want to get across on the call, and I have decided I will be releasing. I'll do a separate video as an introduction to this video. So that's kind of it, really. I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop the recording. So those of you watching by recording, you're going to miss out on the fact we're going to have a nice chat now, a meeting of the minds. And this is where things happen. We used to call it in a particular business I was in. We used to call it a night owl. It's where I travel somewhere to do a talk, and then somebody would invite me and 100 other people back to their house, and we'd have a discussion about what I've just talked about for an hour and a half on stage. But then they'd all be able to, be right there in somebody's living room, and people be able to get a bit more familiar, ask informal questions, things like that. We used to call it a night owl. And sometimes I get home from these night owls in time to shower and have breakfast and go to work again. So, but they were good fun. It's where the meeting of the minds takes place. It's where or the meeting after the meeting, we used to call it sometimes, where you don't necessarily go to somebody's home. You just sit around in the green room, chatting war stories, that sort of thing. That could drag on a few hours, but it's the meeting after the meeting. That's where the real learning is done. The real commitments are made. So we just like to do that. And if you're watching this by video, you're not going to be able to take advantage. So be here on the next Zoom call. They happen every Sunday evening and every Wednesday evening, 10 o'clock UK time. If you're part of Wealth Warriors, we'll post the information in the chat room. If not, get hold of somebody who is in Wealth Warriors or message me directly, and we'll get you a link to come and meet us on the Zoom call. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching the video. God bless, and I will see you on the next one.